Morning. It's a good day. It's a really, really good day. It's a good day because it feels like it's a good day. It's a good day because I deem it a good day. It's a good day because I've got good thoughts. It's a good day because I've got good sensations going through my body. It's a good day. It's a really, really good day. And I hope your day is as good as mine is so far being. I really do. It's always awesome to wake up on days that just feel so good. When you feel like you've gotten a good amount of rest, when you wake up and you don't feel all the stress in your system, and you find yourself not just jumping straight to looking at what's going on in your bank account or what kind of stress might be sitting in your email or the drama of government and politics and world issues and all that kind of stuff. That makes it a good day, don't you think? I mean, yesterday I was talking to a small business owner a local small business owner, and he was just sharing with me. He came into my office, and I'm a very huggy person to all my clients. When they first walk in the door, I greet them with a great big smile and a hug. And he came in, and he's tall, big built man, and I give him this great big hug, and he just held on for dear life. He held on for dear life. And I could just feel his fear, his tension, his anxiety, his frustration, his concern. And it made me realize that he was not having such a good day. And I pulled myself back from him. And I said, so awesome to see you. Like what's been going on in your world in the last couple weeks of us not talking? And he goes, as he sits down in my office on my client chair. And I looked at him and I was just like, what is this? What is this? What is this feeling that I have coming from you, that I'm witnessing in you? And he goes, and he proceeds to tell me about his worry and his fear and his stress, except it's not about his relationship with his spouse. It's not about business in that moment. It's not about finances. It's not about health. It's not about children. It was about politics. That is what he decided to choose in that moment to focus on and to pull up this fear, this stress, this anxiety. So this morning, while I was driving back home from dropping my first grader off at his second day of school, which he's so excited about, I was thinking about, like here I am, I'm in the car all by myself, and I could turn the radio on and I could listen to the radio station and I could catch up on all this drama of our world and, worrying about what our president is doing and what Senate is doing and Congress and the wall and other countries and illegals and all the red tape that we present ourselves in politics, and who am I going to vote for when voting time comes around, and just really get caught up on all of that stuff. I could do that. I could have spent that 25-30 minutes in the car listening to somebody rant on their views, their opinions, their fears, their worry on the radio station. I could have done that. I could have just really infiltrated myself with that thinking, that feeling. And I went, fuck that. No way am I going to start this day. I'm going to, here I drove over singing positive, upbeat music with my first grader and laughing and talking and enjoying my cup of coffee, and watched him get on his bicycle from daddy's house and ride off to school. So proud, so happy, just so much joy. And that was a good feeling to experience my son's joy, his expression of excitement. So instead, I chose, when I said goodbye to him and I got back in the car, drive now. Here I could have, real quick, let me check my email, let me check my bank account, let me check what's going on over here, let me check this. I could have gotten caught in all of that, and I could have listened to the radio or I could have, turned on something that, some podcast that would have opened up my mind about the worries of the world. Instead, I chose not to. Instead, I chose to listen to inspiration. Instead, I chose to fantasize about more feel-good feelings. I chose to bring in more emotion, more feeling about what I was already tapped into, what was already turning me on, about all the good shit that I have going on, about the beautiful opportunities, the beautiful relationships. I mean, heck, in 9 days from now, I'm going to be sitting in Riviera Maya at an amazing resort and swimming with turtles and snorkeling and enjoying, just 5 days of just, So why would I want to wreck my next 9 days by worrying about all this other stuff? Years ago, very, very many years ago, we're talking not that many years ago, but over a decade ago, prior to moving here to Texas, I was still living up in Seattle at that point, because I lived in Seattle for almost 9 years with some California time in between. California girl who moved to Seattle, who moved back to California one too many times, and then moved here to Texas. And about a decade ago, was living up in the Seattle area, Kirkland, North Lake, Washington, and I was not actively coaching. I did not have my business up and running. I was momming it up with my then 5 children, and stressed to the hilt about finances and housing and what life was going to turn out to be and all this kind of stuff. And I avid reader, self-educator and stuff, and I was taking different courses and everything to expand myself. But I picked up a book because I was very big into what was going to happen as far as with our environment, global warming and the pollution and, super mega earthquake centers and volcanoes and all this different stuff. So I read a book called Apocalypse 2012. I read this book called Apocalypse 2012, written by a man who did a massive amount of research on basically all the different ways that our world is going to plummet and we're all gonna perish. Very, very educational, extremely educational, very eye-opening, exciting book, like thrilling because of how many different ways our world can plummet and we can perish. Like, there's 1,000,001 ways that is actually feasible for our world to go out. And according to Mayan prophecy, we are in the 5th sun, the 5th world, and we're going to go out in fire. So I was very good, and I love studying Egyptian and Mayan things. Feel very called to those cultures and greater understanding and all that kind of stuff. But neither here nor there. I was reading this book, and he was talking about that kind of stuff, and I got so wrapped up in it and so terrified by all these different ways that I was convinced that doomsday was coming. Doomsday was coming because it was the very logical way of thinking, and looking at all the science of everything. I'm like, well, Yellowstone's going to blow. Bush is drilling on it. Is this a super volcano that is overdue by how many millions of years to blow up, and all this different stuff, and oh my goodness. And in this book, this man, he was looking at the currents of wind and where fallout would be, like where you would definitely, like instantaneously, where you would die and where you would have a chance and all this different stuff. And there was this little place in Kentucky that the way the winds blew, he figured out that if you built shelter there underground, at like with everything going the way the plates were and everything, the shifting of a super volcano, what would happen with wind and current and plates and everything. And there was this one little place in Kentucky that was a safe zone, as about as safe as you could be for the northern hemisphere. Other than that, his suggestion was move to a close southern state, such as not Arizona, but the east side of New Mexico or the state of Texas, someplace close, so that you could cross over the borders and head south should anything start to go astray, north with the super volcano area and all this kind of stuff. So at least you would have a running chance to escape, make it as far south as you possibly could, below the equator if possible, because that would be the only place that you would be able to actually have air quality that would sustain life for whatever time frame, I don't remember that was, all this different stuff. Well, I could not figure out how to figure out this little place in Kentucky, nor did it sound very safe to me to be surrounded by all this potential, and that wind currents would change, and that was too iffy. But the idea of moving south and moving to someplace that I would at least have a running chance and give my 5 children a running chance for survival, because the world was crashing. So moved to Texas and got a hold of my anxiety, got a hold of my fear, got a hold of this concept of buying into the fear, of buying into that pill that makes us think that we are all doomed, that we are not worthy, that this world is going to crash, and that there's not a bigger plan. It took me a couple of years of other research and some real mind shifts to bring in this stableness, and maybe I really don't give a fuck anymore. I just don't worry. I don't think about what's going on with, like all of the ups and downs and the upheaval and the ozone and the plates shifting and the hurricanes and the this. Do I stay up on different things that are going on? Yeah, here and there I do. I go in, I check in, and I still read, but I deliberately keep myself away from the nightmare. So my question to you today, as I share that, is that, hindsight, looking back, hey, morning as in morning Lucy, hindsight, looking back, what I see there is that I was nightmaring my life, because in that moment, I made a choice to fill myself with fear, to fill myself with negative, to fill myself with anxiety, with depression, with all this different stuff that blocked me from the beautiful life and the opportunities that I had right there, because my opportunities were there just like they are today. I mean, they've shifted, they've developed, they've changed some, but it had beautiful opportunities 12, 13, 14 years ago, whenever this was. I had massive, beautiful potential and opportunity. I just chose to put my attention on the fear, on the nightmare of the what if the world blows up tomorrow. What is my game plan for the best chance of survival for myself and my family? And I lived underneath this suppression of the nightmare, and I consistently fantasized about it and supported the fantasy of the nightmare with science, hard, cold science. Like, was going to NASA websites and reading these documentations, was studying about, different things with the earth and with gases and ozone and, like the predictions and how accurate some of these predictions could be. And I was studying all of this different stuff, and I was supporting my nightmare fantasy about it. And then I was severely looking for the evidence to also manifest. So when something would happen in our world, like a hurricane would happen or something, or they would talk about new sunspots found on the sun, or that we were getting, solar flares were hitting the earth on a much quicker level than what they were before, and we're in the middle of this solar storm until 2021, I think, and all this different stuff, and the potential of all this blah 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 blah. I lived and looked and researched the nightmare and fantasized about the nightmare. As while I was doing that, I also managed to pull into my world different friends energy influencers into my life that, even though they had the best intent, which was education, not just following the crowd, not just being blind to everything, but they were blinding themselves and assisting me blinding me by this now connection that we had around the fear of the what if the world plummets and this happens or this happens or this happens, beautiful, beautiful souls. But I that's who I was socializing with. That's who I was connecting with. That's who I was sharing research and knowledge with. That's who I was helping support my fear, which was turning into a belief because I was thinking about it so much. Good morning, Tina. I was thinking about it so much, and so I was really supporting it. And then came about that, in the midst of it, so I was fearful of the actual physical earth going through polar shift, super volcano blow up, solar storms, all this stuff that I have no effing clue how I would ever fix, or I really don't have any power control over. And this is what I was choosing to focus on. And what ended up happening, because my energy was so negative and I was fantasizing about this nightmare, I ended up finding my own personal world, doing shifts, having plates move, getting very rocky, chaotic, extremely scarcity focused, where I felt like I was in a consistent state of survival instead of opportunity and bliss and joy. I was living in a state of survival financially. I was living in a state of survival with my health. I was living in a state of survival with my relationship, with my almost 20-year relationship at that point in time. I had different upheavals come about, storms rise with my children, with my mother, with my mother-in-law, with my brother-in-law, with family, with friends, and it was just this my world version of all of my fear that I was looking at about the earth. I was fantasizing about it and living it so much in my fear in my thinking and fearing, that I was now moving that emotion into my space of my actual life. And it was manifesting there. And it was manifesting quick. It was really manifesting quick. I look back and I go, like this morning, I could do it all over again. I could get really wrapped up with some of the political things that are going on in our world today. Like, there's some shit out there. Like, would you not agree? I don't care where you live. I don't care what your belief structures are. What if you're Democrat, Republican, libertarian, it does not matter what it is. There's some shit going on in these great United States, and there's some shit going on in the world. And there's upheaval and uproar, and there's massive amounts of stuff going on. So I could go, and much like this morning, fall into that space where I want to learn and I want to grow and I want to know what's going on in my world, and I could focus in on that. And I could have done that this morning. I could have just yes, I'm going to just deep dive into this. I'm a great researcher when I want to be, and I could have just spent 30 minutes researching different things and listening to what I was finding and pumping in that fear. And I could have drove and just fantasized about pumping in that fear about what, oh my God, what if this happens? Oh my goodness, what if this happens? What about this? What about this? What about? I could have done that. Instead, I chose to fantasize about good stuff. I chose to fantasize about, like I was playing out next year retreat for the tantric practitionership. I was just imagining this space that we're going to be at, and I was seeing the ocean in Costa Rica, and I heard the birds in the trees, and I could feel the sun coming in on me from in the car, and I imagined that was cascading across me while sitting next to the pool side and out in the grass and doing outside yoga, and I could taste the amazing, Costa Rica has some of the best fruit. I could taste like the fruit, the organic fruits and everything, and I pictured working through this workshop and the different mini workshops with the group of people that are going to be there, and I witnessed like different people doing different things and seeing them in different ways, and I just experienced all of this yumminess, this connection, this joy, this opportunity, this beautiful experience. I was like, that's what I sat in the car and I fantasized about. I fantasized about that. I fantasized about seeing these people move through things and understand and grow and develop. I fantasized about, and I was like, well, next 9 days I'm going to be off for my birthday in Mexico. And I was like, I just started feeling like, because this area that we're going to, I've been to a few times before, so I know it, and which kind of makes it better in this instance, because I could really literally dip myself into the water and have like a really good visualization of it. So that's what I was doing. I was snorkeling in Riviera Maya earlier, like driving down the road. I'm snorkeling in Riviera Maya while driving, and I'm just like, I'm following this fish, and I'm looking at all the cool things underneath the water, and I could see the turtles because I've swam with the turtles before there, and it's a pretty amazing experience to be out there in the ocean swimming with the big turtles. Like, they are really, really big. and it was just, it was so pleasant. It was so pleasant and so yummy. I chose to fantasize about that this morning. I chose to make today a good day. I chose to make this morning a good morning. I had the ability in this morning to decide what I wanted to fantasize about. Did I want to fantasize about my dream, about my opportunity, about my joy, about all of this stuff? Or did I want to fantasize about nightmare? Did I want to fantasize about all the what ifs that could happen and could occur? That any of it's possible. Any of those nightmares is possible. What did I want to apply my attention to? What did I want to apply my energy to? What do I ultimately want to create for my life, for the people in my world's life, and for this world as a whole? What is the desire of creation? So I'm pretty sure that the majority of us, when we get caught up on the fear and the anxiety and the worry, and we look at the world and we look at all the stuff that's going on, our intent is not to add to it. Our intent is not to, I really want to see this plummet and this crash and this burn. That's probably not our intent. The majority of people, I believe the intent is actually that something needs to happen to shift. Something needs to happen to make things better. Right? That's what we want. We want it to be better. We don't want it to be worse. But we make it worse because we apply our focus on what we fear. We fantasize about what we fear, and therefore we make it worse instead of making it better by focusing in on what is already good, by focusing in on what we want to have happen and the goodness of it instead of the fear of the reverse happening. So I ask you today to look at your world, and to look at your individual world, and then your world scope being your house, your family, your friends, your work, your community. You can bring it out like that. And then also looking out at, like the world itself. How are you applying yourself to the problem or to the solution? Are you a contributing factor to your problems, or to your solutions? Are you a contributing factor to your family's problems or their solutions, to your community's problems or their solutions, to the world's problems or its solutions? How are you contributing? What are you focusing on? You know, I view us human beings as custodians of the earth. I view us as these custodians that are here. We are caretakers. We are here to, you know, our consciousness helps develop this world. Our everything is birthed through consciousness first. That we have to give it life with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our attention. The physical actions just naturally manifest from our thoughts, our feelings, and the attention that we give, and then the physical action is just a natural byproduct of that. If we want a better world, whether that is just internally or within one of these scopes out to the earth, our family of earth, if we want better, then we have to be custodians that are not focused on the problems, but are focused on the solutions, on the dream of what can be in a positive sense, instead of the nightmare of what can be and the fear of it happening. And I just encourage you to really ask yourself today, are you fantasizing about your dreams and goals, your desires? Or are you fantasizing about your nightmares? Where are you applying your attention, your focus, and really, what are you seeing come from that? Because if you say, no, I'm focused on my dreams, but you have nothing but shit manifesting in your world, then I'm going to call bullshit on you and go, you're being stupid. You're not being real. You're lying to yourself. And you can try to fake it all damn day long, but faking it until you make it's not going to work here, because your energy, you know, the vibrations of the universe, or you could say God knows your heart. God knows what you're thinking. God knows what you are truly feeling at your core. So you can speak whatever you want, but these words, they're not going to mean crap if your energy, if your thoughts and emotions are not in alignment to them. And so if you say, oh no, I believe that I can do that, but every cell in your body is going, yeah, I don't believe that can happen, then you're going to have resistance there. If every cell in your body is freaking the fuck out and you are worried and everything, but you're going, no, everything's great, everything's amazing, I have so many opportunities, it's just amazing, but everything in your body is saying otherwise, is actually focused on the negative, then guess what? You are going to continue to create the negative into your life, because this internal world is focused on the negative. So you're almost better off with going, yeah, I don't believe that this will happen, but I do believe that this will happen. Pick something smaller, pick something more general, pick something that isn't as valuable, that you don't deem as valuable as these things that have you freaked out. Take the pressure off of that big ticket stuff and bring it down to something else. Bring it to something that you just will bring in that feel good feeling, because no matter what you are trying to create in your life or in this world, you've got to have the feeling aligned to what you want to create, not the opposite of what you want to create. And us humans are notorious and freaking phenomenal at saying, I want this, and feeling the direct opposite, and then going, why is this not happening? Well, we're feeling this. Okay? So really, truly ask yourself, what am I fantasizing about today? Am I fantasizing about my dreams, my goals, my desires? Or am I fantasizing about my nightmares and my fears, my phobias? What am I focused on? Because it is appearing in your world, in your life, in so many different ways. The evidence is there. If you don't know what you're focused on, look at your life and you'll quickly figure out what you're truly focused on. Backstep a little bit, generalize it, make it smaller. Don't focus on the things that are so valuable to you. Just find that feeling of today is a good day and focus in on that the best you possibly can. So, all right, with that note, there's There is so much going on, but you know what? I'm just not even going to worry about it. I'm going to just say, if I've touched you in any way, if you want to learn how to take get the internal shift that you need to be the co-creator of your life, the conscious co-creator of your life, because you're always a co-creator. It's just a matter of if you're conscious or not to being the co-creator. If you want to learn more about that, number one, I have tons and tons of opportunities to make that happen for you, from online programs to one-on-one coaching. And I right now am accepting applications for my one-on-one coaching. I do global coaching with men and women and couples around the topics that matter the most to us, which happens to be what? What does he think that is? It happens to be our money. It happens to be our purpose. It happens to be our love life, our relationships. It is about the things that we really truly want it to be about. What makes you happy and why are you not happy? Let's go find out. Message me for details on that, or reach out in the comment section. You will find a link to my consult, which, like I said, I work with people all over the world. Feel free to set up a consult ASAP so that we can get you creating the life that you deserve and fantasizing about your dreams, not your nightmares. Okay, guys, I am out of here. I am going to go and have a very good day. I wish that for you as well. I love you guys. As always, you can follow me at www.kendalwilliams.com. And remember, stop existing, start living. You are worthy of a dynamic life. Love you guys.